All right, this is a really important video that I've wanted to make for quite a while now, but there's so much stress out there in the finance world. I would say the majority of people that I talk to in my personal life, whether they have high incomes, low incomes, no income, it doesn't matter, all the way across the spectrum, there's a lot of stress about finances, and I don't want people to be stressed about finances. I don't feel stressed on a daily basis about finances. There's a few things we can do to make sure we feel good, we feel secure, we feel confident in our financial situation. And as long as we're doing these few things, there's gonna be a lot less stress around money in your life. I've got my dog here with me. This is Penny, by the way, if you haven't met her yet, if you haven't seen any of my videos, she's a sweet girl. I'm gonna put her down on the ground real quick. Okay, before we get into these strategies to make sure you're less stressed about finances and you're in a better spot in a continual position of power, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Austin. If you're new here, I'm a co-owner of cloudmusicsuite.com. I'm also a stock market investor. I love talking about money. Channel's somewhere in the 2,000 subscriber range. If you're already subscribed, I thank you so much. If you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and click that button. And as a thank you, here's another picture of my beautiful dog. Her name is Penny. She's only 12 weeks old. She's so sweet. She's absolutely crazy. Now, before we get into these specifics, I just want to share a story from my personal life that kind of played out recently. Basically, we had a lot of short-term, one-time financial hits that were pretty large amounts. I'm talking thousands and thousands of dollars that we had to pay in a very short period of time. It seems like all the things that happen in life that are expensive all seem to happen all in the same moment. Any type of crisis situation is always met with something in your house breaking, or one of your pets getting sick, or you getting sick, or a car breaking down, or something like that. Seems like all these things seem to happen in a very short amount of time. That is what happened in my life recently. We had many expenses that were just one-time, kind of like random, weird, emergency type expenses that hit us all at the same time. But we are good to go. There's very little stress about finances because of these few things. So let's start it off with number one. Number one, you have to have an emergency fund, and it should probably be pretty large. The minimum amount for an emergency fund, in my opinion, is about $1,000. And with this emergency fund, I believe it should be an absolutely separate account from your checking account, from your savings account, from all your other accounts, totally separate account. About $1,000 is a good start, but somewhere between 3 and 12 months of expenses stored away in cash, chilling, sitting, doing nothing, not invested in the markets. Ideally, it's in a high yield savings account so that you get some kind of money on it, so that you're fighting inflation just a little bit, so you're not losing money on a yearly basis. But it's really important to have that 3 to 12 months of expenses. The higher you can get it and the closer you can get it to 12 months, the better, honestly. Like I said, a lot of these emergency type crisis situations, they all seem to play out at the same time. The closer you are to 12 months of expenses versus just the $1,000 or even the 3 months, the better. But building that emergency fund, fully establishing it, and having that cushion behind you alleviates so much of the stress. There is really no stress of missing any debt payments, no stress of missing utility bills, no stress of missing car payments, no stress of missing a credit card payment. Worst case scenario, we go into our emergency fund. Ideally, it's left for absolute emergencies, but it can really act as a fail-safe anytime your financial situation gets a little bit tough. The next one is actually a little bit weird, and it's to have credit cards, okay? And ideally have credit cards that have pretty large limits. Let me explain why. If you're in the process of establishing your emergency fund, or you have a very large expense that's larger than your emergency fund, which is totally possible, you can put that money on a credit card, you can put those charges on a credit card, and then you can take your money from your emergency fund and pay down that credit card over time. You don't want to be in a situation where you literally cannot pay for your own medical emergency, for a pet medical emergency, for a family member medical emergency, or for your AC breaking in the middle of the summer, something like that. You don't want to be in a position where, okay, I was in the process of building my emergency fund, but I didn't quite get to 6 months expenses yet like my goal, or 12 months expenses like my goal. I can put that money on a credit card, draw from my emergency fund, and then use my income to pay down that credit card for the rest of the time. Depending upon where you purchased this thing or where you made this charge on a credit card, you're getting somewhere between a 60 and a 30-day interest-free loan on a credit card. And once I get to tip number 3, we'll have other ways to ensure that you're able to pay down that credit card on a regular basis through multiple different streams of income. So please do make sure you have some credit lines you can draw on. Ideally, they're not maxed out. Please don't max them out on a regular basis. Just use it for your regular spend, and then you have that credit available to you in the case of some kind of emergency expense. I can tell you don't want to have to go take out a personal loan in order to pay for some kind of debt, or some people in some situations have to sell some of their stuff. They might have to sell a car, they might have to sell some furniture. That's an unfortunate situation to be in. Instead, take advantage of that 30 to 60 day free loan from the credit card that you can get, and then pay it down before that statement cycle's due, ideally. And then our third one of 4 here is continually investing into your skills so that you can continually increase your income. If your day job is relatively fixed as it relates to income, make sure you have ways to make money on the side, and you're making yourself more valuable to potential clients who would hire you for whatever you like to do. Maybe you're a coach, maybe you make things, maybe you're an artist, maybe you make content on the internet like this and you can market that. There's a bajillion different ways, a ton of different ideas to make some side income, but make sure it's a high value skill that you're having someone hire you for. Once you get a few different streams of income flowing, it becomes much easier and less stressful to worry about, oh, am I gonna make sure I hit all my bills by payday? There's a ton of different paydays if you have a ton of different sources of income. And that by itself can eliminate a lot of stress. A few $100s hitting your account every few days is very valuable. And then of course, having your day job money hit your account every 2 weeks or every week or every month is also nice too. So establish a few different sources of income. Make sure they're high income skills that you're honing and you're actually making sure you're charging what you're worth for your time and for the results you're gonna give to a client. Last one here is all about stocks. I have a stock market channel, very heavily stock market related. I think it's really important to be able to set a certain amount of money aside to go into your stock market investing endeavors each and every month. If that number is $250 on a monthly basis, if that number is not going to stress you out, stick with $250. If you can bump it up to $500, even better. If you can bump it up to $1,000, even better. Whatever number you're gonna feel comfortable investing on a monthly basis, you should go with that number. If it's way lower than what I said, like $50 a month, it's still worth going ahead and putting $50 a month into your investment accounts. Then you can buy a broad market index fund, something like the S&P 500, which tracks the 500 biggest companies in the United States that are profitable. Anytime a company fails to meet the criteria, they get dropped out, they get replaced with a new company that's the cream of the crop. They're basically rigged in your favor to go up over time because they're picking the best companies in the United States to put inside of this. So something like VOO on the stock market, it's an ETF that tracks the S&P 500. There's a ton of other ones, something like VTI does the total stock market. That's kind of a whole conversation in and of itself. Just make sure you're putting some money aside so that you can get some compounding on your side. Over a long period of time, the S&P 500 has returned about 10% a year. To get a 10% compounded rate without really having to think about it is a really magical thing. And over the course of a few years, you're gonna have built up a decent amount of money behind you so that if all else fails and you completely deplete your emergency fund, you've maxed out your credit cards, you've maxed out your income earning potential, and it's hard for you to gain any more income in the short term, then worst case scenario, although this is not what you would want to do, you can always pull from your investments. And if times get stressful and you've got a lot of money on the credit cards, you've depleted your emergency fund, you can sit back and chill and say, you know what? If I can't figure this out through my income, I can always pull from stocks. No, I don't want to, but if I need to, I can do that. If you do those 4 things, I can guarantee you'll be much more relaxed and much less stressed about money. I don't want anyone in my personal life to be stressed around finances. I don't want anyone that watches my videos to be stressed around finances. So I hope this helps you in a major way. Let me know in the comments below if this was valuable to you. I appreciate you being here so much. Have a great day.